As dry as history can be to some people, I feel like Artifact Iowa can tie it to something where you're like, I see the thing. Okay, it brought it to life for me now. So I think the goal of Artifact Iowa is to get people excited about history and realize that it is important. It is important to move forward knowing where we came from. Artifact Iowa is a storytelling project, and it centers around one artifact at a time. And then it tells the story behind it and the history behind it. And it's unique because it takes a different angle. Like, it can talk about the history that happened with the artifact. It can also talk about the people that had the artifact or interacted with the artifact. And what's really neat is that it's got this cool part of it where you feel like you're in the moment. And it's amazing sometimes to know that those artifacts survived and that they're here in Iowa, of all places. We are not one of the 13 original states. So it's very kind of existential to think about celebrating America's 250th birthday. So Artifact Iowa, looking at specific artifacts that were either involved in the Revolutionary War or somehow made it here to Iowa, helps Iowans, I feel like, connect it, because the dots are so far apart. And so it brings it to life. You know, we aren't in Boston, we're here in Iowa, so we can see that there's a musket, there's several other items that were part of that era that are here in Iowa, and I think that kind of helps us to bring the 250 birthday to life. In our America 250 collection, we're profiling a brown Bess musket. It's about 5 feet tall and it weighs 10 pounds. And that surprised me because soldiers walked around carrying something so large. But when I was doing the research on this artifact, I learned a lot more about muskets than I ever thought I'd ever know. They started out as flintlocks, and then they turned into percussion caps. And the fact that these guns served in warfare for 100 years, and that it was made in Britain, but that all countries, including the United States, used that gun. The goal of Artifact Iowa is to educate Iowans, educate people about our past, and to get them excited about our past. Sometimes history can be dry, and so to know that you can learn about an item, and after learning about that item, you also kind of read a chapter in history. My favorite story so far has been about the Moses Littlefield drum. It was refurbished. The State Historical Society got a grant to refurbish it. And so it's a lot larger than you think it would be when you see it in real life. But the story behind it, the fact that it lived through several wars, that it was used as a communication tool in the Civil War, it was fascinating to me. I didn't know any of that. So that drum really brought that story home for me. And I feel like I could picture that drum out on the warfield trying to communicate with soldiers over the din of gunfire. You know, it really was an object, an artifact that held that story, told that story, and then I got to tell it. And I feel like that's valuable to Iowans and just part of the fabric of Iowa PBS. The only thing I wish this project could do is to hand the item to viewers. Because when you're by that item, when you're by that Civil War drum or a pitcher that was made in England and came across the ocean to be sold at a pub in the eastern part of our country and then made it to Iowa, those things, those objects, you can feel those stories coming out of them. And so I guess that kind of surprised me. I thought it would be, there's an object, oh great, what's the story around it? But it's almost vibrating with the energy of what the story is. And so if I had one thing I would change about the project, it would be being able to go door to door, let everybody see the objects, because they are the absolute most fascinating part. See Iowa's hidden history up close. Watch Artifact Iowa on iowapbs.org and YouTube.